Hello, good evening. Mike and I are here. We have both news for you and olds. We've got some older footage and we've got some newer things to tell you. Hello, Mike.
Right. Hey, Dale, what's going on?
Well,
Oh, you're going to tell me.
yes, one of the things that's going on, and we're one of the first. We may be the first ones to tell you. The TV stations didn't know about this. Talk with the radio guys anyway over at KMED. Today, of the 7 Grants Pass city councilors, 2 of them resigned at the same time. Resigned.
In stereo? In harmony? Did they harmonize?
Well, I don't think they're in harmony exactly, but they did both resign at the same time. Really? Yes. Lily Morgan.
How oddly coincidental on the same day.
It is. And our general rule is when there's something you go, gee, that's really odd, look into it.
Yes.
Okay, so Lily Morgan was on this show just a couple of days ago. She is running for county commissioner. She'll be running for Cheryl Walker's position. And Lily has said at today's meeting it's a workshop meeting, no comments are allowed from the audience, some snickers occasionally and maybe some clearing of throats. But she told the Grants Pass City Council that she was leaving for 2 reasons. One is the requirements of her job have increased. It's a little bit odd because they have less budget than ever before and they're dealing with less young people than ever before. And I don't know. Anyway, and the other reason is that she wants to run for county commissioner, which is a year away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, the primary is in 6 months. Some people are getting worked up for it. Others were super hot and jumped on the very first day. It's well, why would she quit so early? Anyway, she says that she's got a lot of work to do. One of the potentials is looking at strictly from a political angle. We asked, other people have asked, Lily Morgan has gotten into some kind of criticism because she often cannot show up for city council meetings. And when you're trying to establish a record as someone who cares and someone who's going to be working hard for you as a county commissioner, there's a potential it wouldn't look the best to have a record that your opponents could point at and say, see, she's not even been at 10 of the last 12 meetings. That's possible from a purely political perspective. Okay. The other person that resigned today abruptly, Mark Gatlin. Yes, Mark Gatlin resigned. And the reason that he gave was
one of the lesser known Gatlin brothers.
Didn't they invent a machine gun? Anyway.
No, you're thinking of Gatling. This is Gatling.
Gatlings are little Gatlins, I think. One of the reason he gave was that he's recently become a foster parent, an adoptive parent, and so he's made the decision that he's going to move out of town. And if you live out of town, you can't be a Grants Pass city councilor. So he's immediately resigning.
Yes, and that crime-ridden downtown area is no place to raise a child.
That's pretty good, Mike. So, of course, we're going to look into this. As one lady said in social media, we posted it. We're the first ones to post it, of course. She says, well, I'm sure they have excellent reasons. Yeah. Personal reasons. Okay. Let's go with that. Yes. So they're out. So what does this mean? It means the Grants Pass City Council gets to pick 2 new people from inside the city to serve. Well, the last time they did that, they picked Dennis Weber from Parkway Christian Center. So what do you think, Mike? Should they pick Mark Goins, the fellow that says if we object to government, then we're Satan worshipers?
Yeah, I told Dale earlier today when we were talking about this that if they appoint him, I will show up at every single city council meeting and object to everything that he has to say.
Well, now he's going to the restroom, so Mike will have something to say about that.
Yes. That was
You're
wrong. You should have held it.
you're
You should have
Xing me
gone
off.
before. Something, yes.
Okay, so
Mm.
now, of course, you know that tomorrow night we're going to be on at 8 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, and we're going to be doing that because we'll be the very first ones to tell you live, for those of you who care that much, what the vote is on this Grants
On
Pass
the
City
sales
Council
tax.
vote.
That's right. You're going to
Right,
get
and
it.
you're
You're
going
going
to
to get
get
it. They don't have, nobody has what we have set up to have a camera there live. There's no way that you could get this news earlier than tuning in tomorrow night.
the only way you can get it earlier is if you had a crystal ball, which we've already talked to you about. Go ahead, Mike.
And now our stream may be live a few minutes before 8 o'clock as we're getting ready for this here tomorrow. But as soon as the door swings open and the clerk walks past Dale,
yes, he's going to walk right by
when
me.
he tells somebody else, we'll hear it, and you'll hear it here first.
That's exactly right. We are the very first. We're the first to tell you this, the first to tell you that. Yeah, we're the first. So for whatever that counts, if you're somebody that wants to know what's happening in politics in our area, we're the guys. Okay, so we're going to look back a little bit. I talked today to the folks at the Oregon Government Ethics Commission about the contrite attitude that the commissioners have about their ruling, and how it's really not so trite and contrite, and it is trite, and they're this letter of instruction trying to tell them what the rules. They've already, all three of them individually, admitted that they know what all the rules are. They just don't care. So anyway, I talked with them, and it made me think a little bit about if they had a chance to take a look at some of the videos that we have, they will see that this with the commissioners is certainly nothing new. Now, so every once in a while we show you kind of a compilation of what we have. You know, it's a little bit. It has a bigger impact on me if I see it all in one sitting. So that's what we're going to do. Mike is going to play the very first one for you right now. Go ahead, Mike. Show why the commissioners, what they feel about the open public meeting laws. Mike Jones.
Okay.
Can't hear that, Mike.
Yes, I know. But now you will be able to hear.
This is isolationism thing.
Okay.
This doesn't
I will mention that.
bode well.
Are you gonna ask Terry to schedule it too?
Yeah. Good stuff.
Well, I got one not so good stuff. Where do we come as far as executive meetings? Executive committee.
We have.
Well, I mean,
If you have stuff,
I'm a
we can
novice on this, as far as,
have- We have one, at least it's on my calendar.
but what is it that, if I have,
So,
I mean, Commissioner Walker is driving me nuts. Does that go, I mean, that just,
we'll get you a list of this. This is the statutory.
She's driving me nuts too.
No, that's not what he's trying to say. Look, what was happening is at the moment, we were watching every step that these guys made. And he just used as an example, Commissioner Walker's driving me nuts, okay? That's not what the problem was. What he really wanted to say is Dale Matthews, Mike Jones, badcounty.com is all over us. They're watching everything that we do, and every time we break the law or make a mistake, they're right there to point it out to people. So what he wants to talk with Simon about is, what can we do about this? But he doesn't want to talk about it in public, and certainly not in front of the camera. So we'd love to have a meeting in secret, executive session, to talk about what the heck they're going to do about this. They're not going to stop breaking the law. He wasn't talking about Commissioner Walker. Let's go. Let's hear what he wants to do. He'd love to have a secret meeting about how to break the law. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
statutorily provided for executive session subjects. So when I rattle off that stuff, it
Oops. He's rattling stuff off, Mike.
is tied to a specific provision under ORS 192.660 is the basis for it. And it has to fall under one of these categories. But disputes with other commissioners, be it Commissioner Walker or myself, usually doesn't, unless it's potential liability, and then even that is a stretch. So you'd have to talk to legal counsel about how that might be.
Well, it's not really any of that. It's just this is the thing that, I mean, this comes out of my background, I guess. This is that much rather try to solve issues.
Yeah.
Privately. But anyway, I will bring it up.
Privately.
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to solve issues privately, Mike. So
Yes.
what happened was
we'll both go to the men's room at the same time and talk about it.
right. I don't think
Yes.
Cheryl would have any problem with that.
Yeah, probably wouldn't.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the general idea behind all this is he wants to get together and come up with some joint strategy about how they're going to deal with. They're so sensitive when we criticize them, especially when we point out that they're breaking the law. And Simon's saying we can't just get together to talk about something that's embarrassing. Okay, play the next video clip, please. We're going to move at a fast clip through these clips.
Yeah. Theoretically speaking. Okay, now come on. Okay, why it's not cutting?
Live show.
My mouse is
Live.
giving me problems.
Yes.
Wow. Well, we got a technical issue here, Dale. So let's
Move
see.
on to the next one then.
Well, that's not the problem. It's
Okay, time to break out the sock puppets.
yes, it may well be here. We've been having this issue here for a few minutes, and I've been scrambling trying to fix it here, but we're having issues with our production.
We won't be having any issues with our production tomorrow night for live at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
I'm vamping. So that'll be great. We even tested out Mike in a car. I don't know how that's helpful to us, but if we ever decide to cover things that are happening on the Grants Pass Parkway, we've got that covered.
Right.
Or potentially we could send Mike out to some breaking news story. Something's burning down, and Mike is there. And what is it? It's the Reichstag. No, that was burnt down. But never. It's the earthquake that's coming to the. We had an earthquake preparedness thing in the little back room the other day. It's great footage of everybody crouching underneath that table in the little back room. I'm not going to be crouching down behind a table. And I'm also, Simon Hare mentioned that what he could do is he could run into Keith's office and get into that big safe that's there. And I pointed out, although I'm not supposed to talk, that safe, in the event of an earthquake, is going to be an express elevator to the basement. I'm not going to get any big metal safe, and I'm certainly not going to get under a table with them. I'm going to grab up the camera and be out the front door before you can say, Bob's your uncle.
Yes. And in addition to Bob being your uncle, here is Simon on the radio.
I feel incredibly frustrated when I spend this time week after week, and we constantly hear from the gnats in the room about things that are not the issue for Josephine County. We've got serious issues here, and it's probably being avoided because they are so challenging to overcome that it's much easier to focus on things like open public meeting law and the specifics on those kinds of things where you can throw paint or blasphemies towards people who are just trying to do the right thing. We are volunteers in a sense to come forward and say, we want to do something positive for this community because it matters to us. And for people to just constantly, like you said, come forward with just the no aspect of not getting on the solution train, what would you suggest we do?
I did not know that Simon was working for free here. Like that's that changes everything.
We are volunteers in a sense. Now, Mike's video is frozen, and he probably knows that, but we can still talk with him. It's not a problem. There's so many things.
Did you not get the video from that?
No,
that
but
just played?
it just
But
says
you heard
on,
the audio, so
yeah, it just said on
okay.
air anyway.
So
Okay.
we're
What is he saying to Chuck Benson? He's saying, first of all, we're gnats in the room for bringing up this thing that they've gotten a lot of trouble about. Okay. Yeah. And he's saying, well, they've got many more important issues than this kind of thing, but then public transparency, communicating with us, letting us know what's going on. As Don Reedy said, it's none of your business what we're doing as county commissioners. That's an interesting interpretation of his job. And that guy was thrown out too, like a used Kleenex. He got the lowest vote for an incumbent, we think, in the history of Josephine County, Don Reedy. Hello, Don. And he's also saying that we're just trying to do the right job. I mean, we don't really know what the rules are. They're so complicated. This whole thing about don't have two people talking about county business when you don't have an audience, it's too hard to remember, you see. So would you please sympathize with Simon here, because he's always battling with the gnats in the room. Well, we might be small, but we're a little bit more like piranha. Okay, play the next one, Mike.
It's an executive committee meeting or something like that. And why is it an executive committee meeting if you're just going over a certain law?
So, thinking that Danny was down here, and we have a couple of things that have come forward as proposals for mining on county lands. ORS 192.660 gives us the opportunity to meet an executive session on this subject. And so we invited Dogami to participate. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to move the ball forward on a couple of proposals. And so that's what we're meeting on. It's not open to the public. And it's not important to know why. We have to go into executive session on this. It's provided for under state law. So, but all of this stuff, before a decision is made on any subject, that has to be made in public. So we're not making a decision. We're just generating, gathering information.
Did you just say it's not important to know why?
Not at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain that to the OGEC. Well, we just told the public quite rightly that it's none of their business while we're meeting in executive session.
Yeah.
That's the root of their problem, Mike.
Did you say the root of their problem or the root of their problem?
Yeah, both. You don't have to root around for this stuff. It's right out there in public. That was Vivian Kirkpatrick Pilger asking a question. They were talking about mining rights and that kind of thing. And it's okay if they feel that it's absolutely essential for them to meet in secret. I don't really like that, but you must tell us why you're meeting. Not with the details, but at least explain, what the heck are you doing? They don't like to explain what the heck they're doing. That seems pretty obvious. Next clip, Mike. We're moving along.
It's great that the county commissioners say that they would like to see more participation and more openness on the part of the county. And it's really great that, as Judy Ahrens had pointed out, and as you read in a proclamation this morning, you want active, sustained citizens. And it's not just enough to say that it's a right to be active in your government, it's a responsibility. So it's pretty difficult to do that when you can't hear. For years, I've been saying that when I set up the camera in your meetings in the little back room, it's very difficult to hear you. Simon Hare says, well, I often speak in a low voice and my parents sometimes criticize me for that, but that's just who I am, ha-ha. I pointed out in a meeting one time, I said, we can't hear you at all. And Simon Hare said, it's only important that they, the county commissioners, hear me, not you. And you're just nodding his head now, yes. Well, see, that's not transparency. I don't know, maybe we need to get a dictionary for you. That's not transparency. If only the county commissioners can hear you and the populace can't, and I have to boost the audio level by 500 to 600% to be able to hear what you're saying, that's not transparency. So when Tony Correa and Jim Rossi came to a recent meeting, they couldn't hear. They were sitting in the front row and they said, you know, we can't hear you. And you knew that they couldn't hear you. And it doesn't bother you. Well, I went to legal counsel's office afterwards and I said, they couldn't hear. And they pointed out, well, you know, they can ask ahead of time, 24 hours ahead of time, and we'll have some kind of system there. You can't have these headphones because they work on the system that's in this room. What kind of system would we be talking about? And I also pointed out to them, I said, this was a meeting that was listed as a general discussion, no agenda items. Although you have a piece of paper that says agenda on it, you claim there are no agenda items. There's transparency again. And one of the things that happened there was something that was added on at the last moment. You made it the first thing on the agenda. And you discussed it and you took a vote on it. Even though you said you'll never do that, there's transparency again. How were these people supposed to know to tell you 24 hours ahead of time when you didn't list it as a topic? They only knew to come because I told them, there's your transparency. So they're in a bit of a mess here, aren't they? Would you say to people in a wheelchair, oh, well, sorry, you need to let us know 24 hours ahead of time? Because you said after Tony Carrillo is gone in the next meeting, well, that's Mr. Carrillo's fault because he didn't wear his hearing aids. Is that the answer that you would give to somebody in a wheelchair? It's your fault? What if it was a veteran? I don't know, maybe either one of these guys is a veteran and that's why he's having a hard time hearing. Where's your real transparency? You don't have any.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay, now I brought up the thing about wheelchairs because they're hot on the subject of being prosecuted or being hit with legal challenges if they don't obey the Americans with Disabilities Act. And if you think, well, ADA, hey, what about veterans? Do you care? I do. Okay, and it doesn't have to be veterans either. But the point is, this is what the county says is transparency. Oh, as long as the other two commissioners can hear me, that's more than enough transparency for me. Play the next clip.
We removed the nurses because they're already at full-time, so they don't show that. So what was left here was the positions, basically public health assistants and that were moving from 0.8 to 0.7s. They are not eligible for medical now. Oh, that's right. There may be a couple of them that are grandfathered in under the old ASPE contract. They were, I think, hired prior to 2005, and they were at least part-time. They have some medical.
So for those of you who are just listening to this and you can't see the video, they're having a discussion before the meeting, before the recordings are taken on, before any notes are taken. They're having a discussion about county business.
Moving the nurses that are already full-time, and as it turned out, 2 of those nurses would have been grandfathered in under medical.
Okay, because of you were asking.
Okay, well, that was a minute of that.
Yeah, it's the, you know, we can't play every minute of every clip, but the point is that here they're having this discussion before the meeting in a quorum, just like they did at the Rotary Club. And mentioning that on KJO got me banned for life from KJO. They don't like it when you point out that they're breaking the law. And Carl Wilson really didn't like, they were pointing out that they're breaking at the law at a Rotary Club meeting. You're banned for life for saying such a thing. That's your state representative. You think he knows what the rules are? Next clip, please. The meeting is, their part of the meeting is now over, but there's still a quorum in the room.
That way we can, because there for a while I was having trouble trying to figure out points of reference, you know.
Yeah, it's still. I put them somewhere.
State law is quite clear about this.
Can we have you something?
No, sir. Just
Meeting is over, I think.
Yeah, just waiting for the quorum to break up, sir.
We can have a quorum because we're talking about coffee.
Yes.
The meeting is done.
Maybe we put one right here, so we can buy it, we don't.
Oh.
we don't need that.
Are you gonna leave?
Or even a couple of them.
As soon as the quorum's broken, sir.
Would you step over there,
Access to believe.
Mr. Commissioner, just step in my office or something, I'll step out there so the meeting will be official over for this individual.
For this individual.
Thanks for all your considerations, sir. You've broken the law in the past, which is why I'm here.
Did you notice that no matter what the situation, I always call him sir, I wear a tie, I try to show some respect for them. I don't have respect for them, but I try to show some respect for them. Even in this pressure situation, I'm still not going to say you blankety blank. I just don't do that. I always call him sir. They weren't discussing at that exact moment anything about county business, but they have in the past, and they could, and that's why you wait till the quorum is broken before you leave, because they've done it before. You just watch footage of them doing it before the meeting. They tried to make a rule at this point that you have to start when we tell you and stop when we tell you, and we don't like you catching us breaking the law. I would not comply with this new rule that they made up. So they went to legal counsel. Well, he has to comply. And even Steve Rich says, no, the rules are quite clear. Not when there's a quorum.
Yeah.
Next clip, please.
You're listening to Tuesday Talk on KJO Radio. Josephine County Commissioners, our guest this morning, and discussions off mic are starting to pick up the pace here, but we're going to get back to the audience at hand here. Now, we were, again, talking about a solution to the county deficit, I guess is the best way to put it.
That's all we need, Mike.
It really comes down to the citizens of Josephine County here. Probably.
Now, what was he just confessing to?
He said that while they were having a big discussion in the break.
This guy's not a very clear thinker, is he? If you're going to be providing a place like the Rotary Club for the commissioners to get together in a quorum and talk about county business, you don't admit it on the air.
Well, I mean, that sounded like Marty.
Oh, it might have been Marty, whoever it was. Chuck
Yeah,
Benson, Marty
whoever.
Sether,
Yeah, it could have been Chuck. But either way, those guys probably don't know that they're supposed to run interference for these guys.
You mean a KJO? You mean like stopping them when they go out into the hall, out into the parking lot after visiting KJO and take a vote in the parking lot?
Yeah, but of course, I mean that wouldn't be the DJ's.
No, wouldn't be their responsibility. It's our responsibility to watch them. It's their responsibility to follow the law. They absolutely refuse. And then this kind of lunkhead, is admitting that they were talking about county business with the microphone turned off. They can't do that. It's against the law. There's a reason. That's what they do at the Rotary Club. That's what the Rotary Club is for, I will submit to you. It's so that they can close the doors, lock the doors, and then have a private discussion in their little private club. Not my favorite people. Go ahead, Mike, play the next one. I love this one because it's so easy to see what's happening. The meeting's supposed to start at 9. What's going on? Cheryl Walker's the chair at this moment. Where is she? This has got like 5 really great things in it.
The chair and the appointed hour is come and gone. Are you going to convene this meeting?
No. He's the vice chair. He could call the meeting.
The board chair has asked to suspend the starting of the meeting for a couple of minutes. She had some other business that she had to attend to. She will be here as soon as possible, but we'll just wait for a couple of minutes for her to show back up.
Okay. Well, it's not convenient. We can get up.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, there she is. Not enough time for it.
You want to go that far?
Meetings aren't usually this crazy. It's just the place is filled with people.
Pardon me, Madam Chair, are we starting? It's the appointed
No,
hour.
not right now.
I need an explanation. I think I'll do board who's here, and I just want to know what's going on.
This is an illegal discussion.
Board business.
Yeah.
You
You cannot speak in whispers in a quorum.
Well, you just made a decision. No, you didn't. Yeah, you did. You said even though
Excuse me, I can speak well for myself. I don't need you or anybody else to put words in my mouth.
Okay.
Thank you.
But from my standpoint, you just made a decision.
Good.
I'd like an explanation. We're all here.
Ma'am, we didn't ask you to speak. Would you please sit down?
Is the meeting in order?
Meeting is
Because-
Yeah, that's right.
Meeting is not begun.
Would you please sit down?
No, because the meeting has
Ma'am, the
begun.
meeting is not called to order and you've not been recognized. So would you please sit down?
Holy crap.
How can you be recognized if the meeting hasn't started?
Sure, but you have to convene the meeting, you have to deliberate about this. I think making the decision outright is just, without any kind of deliberation, you're making a decision outside the scope of what we have. If we're gonna deliberate, we've got the opportunity to convene this board. There's nothing stopping us from doing that.
I'm calling the meeting to order.
All right. Yeah, there's a good one.
It's got so many things in it. Vivian Kirkpatrick Pilger, well, I'd like to know what's going on. You've not been recognized. How do you recognize someone until you call the meeting to order? Why is she out of order?
Well, listen, she's the queen, and you're not supposed to question what she says.
They obviously had a private little whispered conversation as a quorum where nobody could hear what they're saying. Just a cursory reading of the law says you can't do that. You cannot speak in a quorum about county business. That's what that was about. You can't do that unless you're telling people what's going on. Even Simon didn't know what the heck was going on. And then when somebody tried, the meetings are not always like this. They're chaos. No, they're not. It's just the place was packed full of people who would come to discuss a couple different topics. And they're waiting, and that drives Simon crazy when Cheryl often will show up. Even when she's the chair, she shows up late. But she had something else on her mind and she wanted to talk about it, but she didn't want to talk about it in front of us. Hey, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Next clip. I love that clip.
Yeah. There's no room anywhere else. So something short of this, I can go through it. I just wanted to get this at the start.
That's Steve Rich, legal counsel with them.
I should memorize that paragraph. The permit for reduction on the timber thereon shall be sold, cut and removed.
This meeting has not been called to order. What are you doing?
Yeah, this is. I get the gist, the word. Carbon and soil timber supply protecting watershed, and not regulating stream flow and contributing to the economic stability of the world.
You're not supposed to talk about county business outside of the presence of the people and recording.
It's actually pretty encompassing.
That language had been removed from 78 up to close to 80.
Well, I hope so. I'm looking for more of a interpretational element.
That's enough of that. This is the kind of stuff that we've been complaining to the state about, that they do this on a regular basis. It's not every day, but they're doing it even with legal counsel sitting right there. The Steve Rich is the one that told them, don't worry about it. No one's enforcing the law. And now in their explanation to the OGEC, the Oregon Government Ethics Commission, well, you know, we're really kind of unsure about what the law is. Although Cheryl said, what'd she say in the newspaper, Mike?
Oh, she's an expert on this kind of stuff. She knows all about it. She's well versed in Oregon public meeting law.
Simon Hare, the same thing. And Keith Heck, we know what the law is and don't care. So now they're going to tell them we don't know what the law is, but we sure do care. That doesn't. Next clip, please.
A comment was just made by Ms. Kirkpatrick Pilger that says if you keep doing what you're doing, you get the same result. Well, if you keep voting down the levies, we keep getting the same result. We are not going to be in any better shape next year because the money we're getting from the secure rural schools is less than we had last year. It takes $4.5 million just to run the jail at the current level. If you don't like the current level, it's going to be worse next year because it's less money. So if you keep voting down the support, and even the founding fathers, including George Washington, said it's up to the public to pay to support the society that we have established. So, yeah, that's a very true thing. If you keep doing the same thing, you get the same result. And I think that there was an awful lot of comment here about something that was taken off the agenda, so I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay.
Now, that was the clip that I sent to the elections division of the state of Oregon. And I said, it's posted on the front door. She had given us a little lecture at the beginning. Now, nobody talk about the tax that's coming up because that's illegal. It's posted on the door. It's illegal. It's illegal. And that's what she was doing. And they were the ones that said to me, yeah, that's clearly breaking the law. Okay, so what are you going to do? Well, we're not sure we're going to enforce the law.
Yeah, nothing.
This is why when Wally Hicks told KJO Radio, who actually posted a story about the commissioners doing something supposedly wrong, or not really, or really there's nothing. Oh, it's just hijinks, youthful hijinks from Keith. Anyway, that's why when Wally Hicks told them something that had nothing to do with the complaint, well, you know that Sandy Casanelli, well, you can include me too, she's told the state 8 different times that they're breaking a law and blah, blah, nothing's come from it. That's not a criticism of Sandy, and it's got nothing to do with the point there, Wally Hicks, who's chosen a side. That has to do with the OGEC, who's never taken any action before. No wonder these guys didn't show up at the, well, here's a chance to tell your side of it. Why would they show up? It's never been needed before. They always said, yeah, right, stupid citizens. As the clerk says. Do I even need to say it? People who question their county government are morons. Next clip, please.
Dale Matthews, Grants Pass. There's a reason for the open public meeting law. Now, Simon Hare has said that it's extremely frustrating to him that the gnats in the room keep bringing this up. It is state law, and it is something that all 3 commissioners have sworn to uphold. They often don't. Nobody's even looking at me. Oh, well, whatever. And so we recently caught the county commissioners once again breaking the law. For a couple of years since Simon Hare has been in office, he's questioned the wisdom of paying dues to Soready. Soready's a pretty controversial company in both Jackson County and Josephine County. And the question here has been, and I think he's right about this, how much good does paying $25,000 in dues to Soready actually do for Josephine County? And so going into the latest vote about whether or not to pay those dues, I thought, well, maybe this time we'll see a different way of doing things and perhaps not pay dues to Soready unless they actually start showing some real benefits to us that are obvious to everybody. Not just if you read through a very complex report, but people can say, oh, good for you. Cheryl Walker, the chair, has taken exactly the opposite point of view. She actually serves on the board of Soready and then is one of the people that decides whether or not their dues should be paid. Okay. I don't like that, but you make up your individual minds about that. So I was surprised recently when I heard that all 3 commissioners, that's a quorum, attended a Soready presentation that apparently convinced Simon Hare that it's a really wonderful organization and we should give them $25,000. Now, wait a minute. One of the reasons why there's this law is that as the court of public opinion, we should be allowed to hear all of the same input that they have. And despite sometimes kicking up a fuss about this, the law is clear. We're supposed to have, if they're in a quorum and they're talking about county business, we're supposed to have access to exactly the same information that they have. There's no doubt about this. Well, it was a social gathering. No, it wasn't. They were sitting in chairs facing a speaker. It wasn't, oh, let's all just eat, drink beer or, eat some vegetables or something. No, they were listening to a presentation that was enough to convince Simon Hare. That's county business. And it had a result. A very negative result, in my opinion, but they're breaking the law and we're catching them every week.
And to address Mr. Matthews' comments, Simon Hare, Josephine County Commissioner. The meeting that Soready held was not open to the public under Oregon Public Meeting Law. Those things are considered, I guess, social events. I don't know. He didn't ask to attend. I didn't see him there. And if he would have been there, he would have noticed that I didn't sit down the whole time. I listened to the presentation. I thought it was really an eye-opener for me and others in the room as far as what Soready does for not just Josephine County, but Southern Oregon in general. What changed my opinion was my misconception, I think, of what I expected Soready to do over the last 3.5 years in office is different what I think their mission is, what they're actually accomplishing. And that deviation from expectation is what's led to my frustration with Soready over the last couple of years. Having reevaluated what I think their mission is, sure, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is fulfilling that last 10%, 20% of funding for new businesses, startups, refining the processes, representing Josephine and Jackson County on a national or statewide basis. And from that standpoint, $25,000 is justified. We spend $25,000 to $35,000 for the Small Business Development Center. We allocate $30,000 of economic development to our libraries. There's a number of different portfolios of economic development that need to be satisfied. And I believe Soready does that. I'm going to propose to the board this week or next week a plan to develop an economic development director position, much as the city is looking for a business advocate position. And I think that we have the adequate reserves and economic development to fund that. And but the element of what he was talking about with refining my position, that's neither here nor there. We haven't had the vote on that, and I would be happy to publicly disclose how I arrived at that decision and plan to do so when we have that vote and approve the Soready dues for 2014-15. So if he was just a little patient, maybe understood Oregon Public Meeting Law a little bit better, his frustration would have been satisfied.
It was referenced last night at the city council meeting that I may have changed my position on Soready dues, and I think I probably have, to be perfectly honest. It was after the regional advocacy.
Was that just a side comment? You changed it, or was this somebody negative or a positive?
It was a negative. It referenced to the fact that they weren't privy to my decision gathering information at a meeting, the annual meeting of Soready. Yeah, it's provided for. It's not a violation, and actually, it's just an expression of ignorance of those who claim to know the Oregon Public Meeting Law.
This is Dale Matthews. The expression of ignorance to which Simon Hare was just referring is, in fact, straight from Oregon Public Meeting Law. Quote, for example, members of a commission may wish to have an informal, long-range planning session to help guide, in general terms, the future priorities of the commission. Because the discussion at such a session is likely to lay the foundation for subsequent decisions, It does not matter that the discussion is informal or that no decisions are made. It is still a meeting for the purposes of the Public Meetings Law. The law requires that the public have access to any meeting of a quorum of a governing body when the governing body meets to gather information on which it will later deliberate. Note, Simon Hare did deliberate after gathering information during this illegal quorum.
I feel incredibly frustrated when we constantly hear from the gnats in the room about things like open public meeting law.
Yeah. Those
He's
gnats.
incredibly frustrated. Yep.
Well,
Well,
you know, I think you maybe knocking back a couple of drinks would probably help you with that.
no comments. Or maybe texting children. Never mind.
Yes.
Anyway, so the point is that that later on, in talking with Simon privately in the hallway, just the two of us, no quorum. Well, yeah, sir, you may have had a point there. Yeah. Well, the public meeting law is very clear. It's there for a reason. Don't be going off to some social gathering where all the chairs are facing front and you're watching a presentation. That's not a social gathering. A social gathering might be people getting around and drinking cocktails or whatever people do like that. No, it wasn't a social gathering. They were trying to convince them. Cheryl's already on their board and votes to give them money all the time. Gee, I wonder why. Because she's on the board? Well, who knows, really, when you think about it. Keith will go along with it. Okay, no problem for him. But Simon was digging in his feet, digging in his heels, probably. And the problem is that he goes to this thing and they convince him. Well, you know what the law says, Mike. Gathering information which could possibly end up in a decision.
Yeah.
The public is invited. You are a quorum. There's an easy solution. Don't go as a group.
Yeah.
So that's the end of our show. I have pledged, last night I felt so bad. I have pledged to try to keep this down under an hour, and by gosh, I'm going to do it. And so that's all that we have time for tonight. And don't forget to go vote. If you haven't already, you're going to have to walk it down to the courthouse in person and drop it in. But you'll save the cost of a stamp and the rest of the community.
Yeah.
Join us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. We're going to probably start, as Mike said, just a little bit early. And we'll see that you get all the latest news and as much of it as we can possibly give you. And we'll keep an eye on what's happened with Lily Morgan and Mark Gatlin and the city council and what's going on with this vote and what's happening with the commissioners and their adamant denials that they did anything at all wrong ever.
Mm.